set down the performance and reconnect with what is real. I am Cordelia Gaffar, and I work with professionally successful, socially respected men, corporate leaders, and founders who are physically and mentally exhausted, helping them to regain strength, confidence, and self-respect without shame, judgment, or emotional overwhelm. In each episode, we uncover what people miss when they are running companies, leading teams, and scaling visions on empty, so you can lead with a clear mind, a steady body, and a dignified heart. Take a breath, loosen your shoulders, and listen. What you have been trained to push past may be exactly what brings you back to yourself as a man and a leader. Hello, and welcome to What People Miss. I'm so excited to share something with you. And as we talk about on the heels of last week, where I recorded about visioning, right? There are different parts of the year where there are opportunities to lean into your vision, to create your vision, to enhance your world and your life. And sometimes those are not within your own tradition, but that's the beauty of being part of and understanding what it is to be whole, right? To be a whole human and to be part of this whole world. Wholeness breeds wholeness. So to have inner wholeness, you have to have a holistic view of yourself and the world as part of the world. And so as a Muslim, I do practice the month of Ramadan, and I see very many benefits. It's one of the reasons I became Muslim, actually, because I love the lifestyle that Muslims practice in Ramadan. And so, with an invitation to rise, right, as a possibility, consider these benefits of Ramadan as a non-Muslim, and there's some tips that you could use all year long. In fact, Muslims use Ramadan as a hard reset, right? It's like kind of preparation for our new year because Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. And it's the beginning of the sacred months. And well, it's within the last 4 sacred months of the Islamic year. And so during this time, it does not ever go unnoticed that the world gets kinder and more peaceful, and the frequencies of love increase during Ramadan. I've noticed this as a non-Muslim, and I've noticed this as a Muslim as well. And so these were the catalysts for me to share this episode with you today. Like I said, it takes the whole world to be whole. Like in my personal life, right? My diet is a blend of Ayurvedic and Islamic medicinal traditions, as well as herbalists, right? North American, Native American herbalists. And my movement is based in Buddhist Tantra and also, right, in African and Caribbean dance. And so as I call you to rise and look at the benefits of Ramadan as a non-Muslim, I'll take you through my 4-mind alignment methodology so that it'll seem more practical to you. So the 4-mind alignment is a methodology that I created in 2021 so that people can experience joy bonding, right? And joy bonding begins within as you acknowledge the wisdom of your 4 minds. So in many Eastern practices, there's a belief that there are 4 brains in the body, right? Some 3. In the Western world, we've acknowledged that we have a heart and a brain. And I encourage you to consider the 2 others, which are our stomach, right? That's a 3rd brain, because we spend a lot of time eating. And eating is not only about satiation, it is also about actually providing the nourishment and nutrition, right? There's a distinction. Nutrition are the vitamins and minerals in the food. The nourishment is the spiritual aspects of the food. That's why, for examples, Jews will eat kosher meat because there's a certain process in harvesting the meat from those animals, and Muslims will eat halal meat because, again, there's certain criteria in the harvesting of the meat from those animals. And in both cases, the aim is to first and foremost treat the animal as an animal during life and let it frolic, play, procreate as it wishes, right? Don't force breeding, but actual, natural procreation occurs. So the babies are created through instinct. The process is all through instinct. And And the other side of that is they get to eat what animals eat, right? They forage for themselves so that the quality of the meat is of a higher standard. So, with all that said, let's begin. So, the first of the four minds in my four mind alignment methodology is the lotus verse, right? The lotus verse is our genitals. And I use that word because I'm a woman, right? So the woman's vulva, when engorged, looks like a lotus or some form of beautiful blooming flower. So, in honor of that, I chose lotus verse to acknowledge the mind of the genitals. It is also a portal between worlds, right? Because when you have sex with intention of having children, right, with your spouse, you are bringing forth a soul from the spiritual world. So it is an act of worship and a spiritual connection, deep connection, not just with your spouse, but with your creator. So a benefit to you as a human, whether you follow Islam or not, is to honor your genitals and respect them, right? They are a connection to the spiritual world. So even if you're beyond the ages or you never have any intention to procreate, whenever you choose to have sex, consider this question. Are you having spiritual warfare? Are you joining peace? I'm going to ask that again. Whenever you're having sex, depending on your intention, you're either choosing spiritual warfare or you're choosing to enjoin peace on humanity. And the frequency matters, right? Because that's the underlying frequency of humanity right now. Think about rape culture. Think about how many wars and how sex is used as a weapon, right? Think about the sex trafficking that's happening. These are all forms of spiritual warfare, which is lowering the vibrations of humans. Now, nobody wants to talk about it. And it's the silence, right? It's the thing that people miss conversation around, connection around, and communication around that is killing us all slowly. It's becoming a cancer, literally. In the reflexology of the vaginal canal in Buddhist Tantra, the cervix, right, is at the top. And the cervix represents the heart. Think about the condition of the heart of many women and think about the diseases that happen as a result of spiritual warfare that create things like HPV, which is a virus that creates cervical cancer, right? Cervical cancer. And remember, the cervix symbolizes the heart. So sometimes, let's think about this from a pathological perspective, right? Because we go to the doctor when we feel things are off, and usually our EKG will be wrong, right? And maybe even our pap smears might come out normal, but you know that there's something off, and it's the state of your heart. If you're a woman listening to this and you hate sex, why? If you're a man and listening to this and you need sex, right? You think of it as sport, or you think of it as something to satiate or something to grab or take. Think about your phrasing, your word choices around this. This intercourse literally means that you are entering the courses, the spiritual courses of another human. There's no way that you can penetrate another human being digitally, with your phallus, or with anything, without having some intention. And if your intention is always to harm or take and not share, harmonize, connect, communicate, honor, respect, then you are ripping the soul of humanity at its base, at its core. Every single time you dishonor and disrespect your own genitals and those of others. And this is why during Ramadan, Muslims only have sex with their spouses after breaking fast, after praying, as an act of worship and deep spiritual connection to Allah, their creator, and each other. You can also practice this as a non-Muslim, even if you're unmarried. Just choose, right? Your actions are by your intention. Choose deep spiritual connection and intimacy when you have sex during the month of Ramadan to improve the overall frequency of your life, your body, and humanity as a whole, and see how it changes your life and those around you. So let's move on to the second mind, right? Notice that when I first talked about the four minds in philosophy, world philosophy, I started at the brain and went down. But in reality, the wisdom of humans is the other way around. We begin with our lotus verse, our connection to the spiritual world, and the crown is your genitals. And we move up into the physical realm. So think about it. Your stomach nourishes and can give and can provide nutrients to the body, right? So the stomach is actually right in front of the genitals in some cases and right above in others, right? So what I'm calling the stomach is the entire digestive tract. The digestive tract processes the nutrients that the body needs, right? And it goes into our blood cells. And we know our blood communicates throughout the entire body using the pump of the heart, right? It comes in with no oxygen, gets oxygenated, goes back out, circulates through the whole body. This is not a biology class by any stretch of the imagination. So any mistakes I make when I talk about, certain body systems outside of my main topic, I encourage you to confirm, right, when any information. And so, but from a spiritual perspective, the food that comes in through the stomach, right, will feel emotions in our gut. We'll have a gut feeling. So there is a spiritual connection there. And also the other side of those gut feelings is sometimes we may feel nausea. We may experience discomfort, and we first know that we're ill sometimes through throwing up, or the stomach bubbling. When we're stressed out, our cortisol levels increase. We have a little pooch right around the waistline, right on the navel. So this, in terms of chakra systems, I have consolidated many of the chakras just into the four minds. So I'm not going to mix and match or, confuse, but know that your stomach is your second mind, and it's carrying that connection from the spiritual world into the physical through feeding the actual physical body. So think about how you choose your food. Remember, I talked about the distinction of kosher and halal meat to the regular conventional meat that people may eat. Even if it's organic and it's not certified humane, you don't know under what conditions those animals were living. And if they were living in a state of stress for the duration of their lives and then killed in a very tragic way, all of that cortisol from that animal, right? All those experiences are going into your body. And so a lot of times, from a spiritual perspective, we don't even know what we're truly putting in our bodies. So when you think about the brain, the stomach brain as a mind, that is part of your physiology and part of your way of being and part of it's not just why you're fat or skinny or have high cholesterol. It's deeper than that. These are conscious choices. Like, what are you agreeing to? The silence, right? The silence in choosing to eat um, meat that you don't know the origins of, or vegetables that may not even be vegetables, right? Or sugar, which has a horrible history. The history of sugar goes back to the Sugar Islands, right? And the French islands specifically where sugarcane was grown. These were like 24-hour manufacturing places, and they so much so like they literally worked the bodies of the enslaved for 24 hours without breaks. And because the process of sugar is so precise, and also because they're just cruel, right? There's human cruelty in the history of sugar. So, from that perspective alone, as a melanated person, I, to the best of my ability, try not to eat a lot of sugar, right? It can be said that today a third of all sugar production comes from beets. And also, under what conditions, right? Even if it's not coming from sugarcane, even if it's not enslaved or child labor or, you know, the history of sugar is enough to distance me from it. And, this is something to think about as you're feeding your stomach mind. What are you feeding your stomach mind? Do you know your body type? Do you know what your body requires as far as food to nourish your body and give it nutrients, right? So in Islamic medicine, there's 6 lifestyle areas that are associated with the body types, and one overlaps into the other. How you eat, how you sleep, how you move, how you eliminate, how you retain nutrition, and all those things. Are you aware of that? And if you're not, that is a service that I offer. So if you would like a body type assessment, holistic assessment, that's something that I offer, and I will put the link below this video. So we know about the lotus verse and we know about the stomach mind. The next is the heart, right? So acknowledge your emotions and their purpose. Your emotions are the bridge between the spiritual world and the physical world, right? So frequencies in the spiritual world show up as emotions in the physical world. So to disengage and not acknowledge your emotions is to literally block your blessings. So for every person who feels like you can override your emotions, or you don't need your emotions, or your emotions are too much, and also you consider yourself a person of faith, you may reconsider your relationship with your emotions. There is some connection you're feeling, right? If you're a person of faith, when you talk to your creator, when you talk to your Lord, right? And it's unmistakably an emotion. You have those emotions with your creator. You have those emotions with other humans. Why would your creator give you something that you cannot use? It must have a purpose. So when you lean into the purpose, it opens your possibilities for connection and for communication, which are very, very important because we have lots and lots of words that formulate in our brain mind, and we've been using the words as weapons because instead of connecting our thoughts with our heart and our emotions, we are playing a game of chess and manipulation when that's not what we're here for. It's supposed to be about coordination and community. And it's this last piece between acknowledging and accepting your own emotions and being vulnerable and open and honest about that when you're talking to and relating to another human being, and not thinking about extracting from another human being, but what can you harmonize, synergize with, bring balance to one another, and ultimately rise together and make the world a better place. So let's just recap, right? Today we have talked about Rise, it's Ramadan, the benefits and tips for non-Muslims, taking you through my methodology of the 4 mind alignment, the 4 minds being the lotus verse, where the benefit of choosing to have intercourse or sex for the purpose of deep spiritual connection is beneficial to the frequency of your life and that of humanity. Your stomach, when you choose to eat, again, think in terms of how the food was harvested, how it was cared for, how the land was cared for, and that will, in some cases, the soil, if it's cared for in a certain way, it's called regenerative, which is a higher level and quality than just certified organic, right? Because then it's certified non-GMO, and the quality of the land is better. The quality of where the animals are, foraging is better. And ultimately, you'll get the highest level of nutrition in your body. And because the land and the plants and the animals were taken well care of, then you'll be getting emotionally and spiritually nourished as well. Your heart. There's no escaping that our emotions are the portal between, are the bridge between the spiritual world and the physical world, right? The frequencies in the spiritual world are the emotions in the physical world. So the benefit of acknowledging your emotions and respecting and honoring them during the month of Ramadan, just to practice for 30 days, right? So that you may continue on afterwards, is to see how much more building that bridge of communication between humans by being connected to your own humanity will allow your life to rise and enhance. And finally, the brain. We have many thoughts, but mostly we organize our thoughts in disconnection from the other 3 minds. The invitation during the month of Ramadan, if you're a non-Muslim or a Muslim, is to connect the dots, connect the brain mind to the other 3 minds in honor and respect of your humanity and that of others, and choose your words so that you can create more moments to savor in your life. That's all for this week on What People Miss. And I invite you to comment, like, and share with another heart, with another soul. Until next time, choose joy and pleasure. Thank you for listening to What People Miss with Cordelia Gafar, the ultimate joy goddess. Hi, I'm the CEO of Workout Around My Day Incorporated, an award-winning podcast host, best-selling author, and embodiment guide who supports professionally successful, socially respected men, especially corporate leaders and founders who are physically and mentally exhausted, to regain strength, confidence, and self-respect without shame, judgment, or emotional overwhelm. Emotional overwhelm may feel like you're merely surviving. As we close today's episode, I invite you to rediscover joy and pleasure in your body with my self-guided experience to create more confidence, resilience, joy, and virility. The Ultimate Confidence Guide for Men Over 50, 14 Days to Feeling and Performing Better Than You Have in Decades. Click the link in the description and stay tuned to learn more at CordeliaGaffar.com.